I'm Lauren Goldenberg, and I've had the privilege of working with Network 403 educators for the last 2 years on a project funded by the Carol and Milton Petrie Foundation. This is a bittersweet moment for me. It's the end of this grant, but it's also a celebration. I'm confident that the teacher leaders you will hear from this evening, both our panelists, our gallery walk presenters, and the many others who are in the audience and who aren't here this evening, will continue to integrate what they've learned into their classrooms and into their schools. Right now, I'm delighted to introduce Mr. Dudley, my collaborator and network leader, who will tell you more about this innovative professional learning event project, before we hear from our teacher panelists. Thank you.
So welcome everybody. It's Phil, we got a seat for you right up here. Thank you. It's very exciting to be here. I want to say thank you to Lauren particularly. This event would not be happening without the work of many people, but especially the work of Lauren Goldenberg. Lauren has been a part of our network team and embedded, we like that word, embedded with us for 2 years, even though she was working on other projects here at Tweed. And we're here today to demonstrate and celebrate effective collaboration, and it's an honor to collaborate with Lauren these last 2 years. I want to also thank Deputy Chancellor Weinberg and Chancellor Farina for their support of this entire event today, and the Petrie Foundation for the support of the work, and the Petrie Foundation is represented by Beth Leaf, who's here today in the front as well. Teaching is an art and a science. And both the art and the science can be developed, they can be grown. At our network, we believe the best way to do this is to, yes, collaborate with principals and directly with teachers to help them work with each other to enhance both the art and the science of teaching. How do we do this work? Well, today you're going to hear from some teachers who are making it happen, both here and outside and during the gallery walk. But I'm here first today to give you a little outline of our work, the framework as it will. And following, of course, the Common Core, we've got to do Common Core here. The teachers are going to provide the evidence. Our core belief at 403 is that the most powerful teaching and learning take place when 3 elements are in place. First, at the foundation is a strong, engaging curriculum. That's what we call the what. Second, reflective teachers working with each other to improve practices. That's the how. And third, providing access for all to reach every student. That's the who. Our panel of teachers today, yes, can you say it? We have teachers in Tweed. Here they are. Let's see who are the other teachers out there. Raise your hand, teachers. Let's see who you are. Teachers in Tweed. All right, what a concept. I think one of you, at least one of you, if he's here already, one of you may be even live tweeting this event. And if you are tweeting today, the hashtag is EducateNYC. So go ahead and put your tweets out there. So our panel has worked with our network coaches, as well as the people that will be in the gallery walk. They work with network coaches, school leaders, and other teachers in their schools on these 3 elements: on curriculum, on effective practice, and on access for all. And we thank them for their participation today. First, I want to talk a little bit about curriculum. At the network level, we created opportunities for teachers to come together over time to write curriculum. This is not easy work. We formed 2 curriculum writers groups, one group for our 9 to 12 high schools and another group for our transfer schools. We also created boot camps over the past 3 summers where 35 to 40 teachers spent 5 full days immersed in Common Core and unit planning workshops in the morning for an hour, and then 5, count them, 5 hours of writing, of planning, of collaborating, and they got daily feedback from the coaches and from their colleagues. More than 140 teachers participated, yes, collaborated, in these curriculum writing initiatives, and some of their units are in these books here, which every school has a right to one of each today. So if you take one for each school, not for each person, right? I made 20 of them. If there's a wait list. We'll create a wait list, but we have some curriculum that's come out of this work. These are some sample units. Many of these teachers took their planning skills and ideas back to their schools. Now, as the chancellor is fond of saying, the answer is in the room. And while we at the DOE have yet to find a high school curriculum worth approving, our teachers were making their own strong, engaging, Common Core aligned curriculum right now. Second, teacher effectiveness. The how. To do this, we set up 5 intervisits across schools every year in which the instructional leads, some of them are here today, many of them, from each school would meet in groups of 6 or 8 with a coach from the network. The teachers observed classes in the host schools, debriefed together using Danielson, discussed what high leverage feedback for those teachers would be, and then practiced delivering that feedback with their colleagues. Our goal was to help schools create their own intervisitation structures, or even you do observations using video, so that teachers and departments regularly visited each other or videoed their classes and provided feedback to improve teacher practice. While setting up these intervisits in every school is an ongoing work in progress, we're not there yet. Where it is happening, the teachers are really reaping the value of this type of collaboration. And what about reaching every student, the who? We knew from our schools and our surveys with them that one of the great challenges across our schools was to write quality, useful IEPs and get them to teachers who knew how to use them to engage and reach the hardest to reach kids. So our network team collaborated with teachers and one great quality control person here from Tweed to develop a rubric. Yes, it is a Danielson-like rubric, very user-friendly, I might add, to help teachers write and develop quality IEPs across our schools. And as the IEP quality has improved, and we've seen marked improvement in the IEPs across all of our schools, we took the next step, as our coaches have collaborated with special ed teams to make sure that all teachers, especially the general ed teachers, are using those IEPs well for the benefit of reaching every kid. So that's the outline. That's the what, the how, and the who. It is only through collaboration that we are helping each other to improve all of these areas. And while we do celebrate some success here today, all of you, we also know that there is still a lot more to do to enhance the art and the science of teaching. Thank you. To explore how this work is carried out in our schools, I'd like to introduce our panel moderator today. She's one of the best English teachers that I know, and she's a great writer in her own right. She was our network coach last year and helped lead one of our curriculum writing groups that led to some of these units, and her unit is actually in here as well. This year, she decided to return to the classroom as a lead teacher at Francis Perkins Academy, a small school in the automotive campus in Williamsburg. I'd like to present Ms. Melissa Gurney.
Good afternoon. My name is Melissa Gurney, as Nate said, and I just wanted to thank Network 403. I think everyone can pretty much do it. Network 403. And all the people who put serious time and effort into the Petrie Grant in general. It was a beautiful experience getting to work through the different projects that were going on there and collaborate, and I got to kind of have my hands in every pot, so it was an amazing learning experience for me, so thank you. With that, I'm going to just jump right in and get to the crux, which is our panel members, and hear what they have to say about the different projects that they collaborated on. I'm going to have each of you introduce yourselves. I think that's the best way to go about it, so I can pass this down and we'll start with you.
Hi, I'm Ashley Moran. I have been an IEP coordinator and special ed teacher. I started this work at Meyer-Levin Middle School in East Flatbush, Brooklyn, and am continuing it in my new school, Professional Pathways High School, a transfer high school in Sheepshead Bay, Brooklyn.
Good evening. My name is Zena Waju. I'm an English teacher at Harlem Renaissance High School, a transfer school in Harlem in our 10th year. And I was fortunate enough to work on the transfer school ELA curriculum writing project last year.
Hi, I'm Frank Sweeten. I teach social studies at Tweed NYCDOE High School. I've been a teacher for 19 years. This year I had the pleasure of going to the Network PD on intervisitations and implementing video club in the school, which myself and my colleague have done.
I'm his colleague. My name is Heather Florio-Axiola. I've been teaching 7 years. This is my 5th year at Queens Metropolitan High School in Forest Hills. I also have participated in the PDs around intervisitation with the network and co-created the video club with Frank.
Good afternoon, evening. My name is Darnese Olivieri, and I am the lead teacher and English teacher at EBC High School for Public Service in Bushwick, New York, where we participated in the video club, intervisitations, and curriculum boot camp.
Okay, great. So while you guys are listening, I'd like for people to think about your best professional collaboration and what elements were involved in that made it successful, what glitches came about. I think that'll help you explore ideas and challenges that may come up throughout their conversation. So you have hopefully pen and paper somewhere in front of you. If you want to jot down any questions for the end or any ideas, anything else that pops into your minds creatively while they're speaking, that would be great. At the end, you will have a little bit of time to kind of bounce those questions off of somebody around you. So we're going to start with kind of an introduction to your process. So the first question is, what was your process for entering into collaboration in the area of interpretation, video club, curriculum development, quality IEP writing, and more specifically, how exactly did you get this project up and running at your specific schools? Anyone can start.
So for me personally, I believe the evidence of a good teacher is somebody who's reflective, and because that's my strong belief, I was so interested in getting interpretation started within our department, within our history department at Queens Metro. We had done it through Great Team about 2 years ago, and then through the network meetings that Heather and I went through, we saw how effective it was through departments. So Heather and I brought it back to our administration before bringing it into the department. So once we did that, I worked together with my AP to come up with a structure of interpretation, which has changed since the beginning. Based on reflecting on the process, we decided to change it. And we feel that by bringing it into the department, it's only improved the instruction throughout our whole entire department.
Feel free to speak to the audience.
We participated in the intervisitations 2 years ago. That was our first introduction to the PDs, and there were 4 instructional leads, and I accompanied each lead so that I could get exposure to all content areas. And through that experience, Joe Scarmata, who's our coach at the time, really emphasized thinking about introducing the video club. That as scary as it can be, can also be incredibly rewarding. And so through the process, we brought back to the staff this idea of filming yourself, knowing that there would be trepidation, knowing that there would be concern. And those who were interested, we had 10 teachers sign up, and like everything, once you start getting closer to implementing, that fear is real. You know, that you're going to be on camera, you will hear yourself and see yourself. And some teachers said that they would wait it out to see how the process went. And 6 of us stuck with it. And we met for 6 months, twice a month. We started out meeting once a week, and then we were reflective, and we realized it's important to give teachers space and scheduling. And it was a great success in that those 6 teachers really stuck it out all the way through.
I got an email fall of 2013 about a training for quality IEP writing. Since my whole life revolves around IEPs, I signed up immediately. So a lot of teachers from the network received training on this rubric. And the rubric is a guide to assist you in writing a couple of sections in the IEP. So writing the student's present level of performance, their academics, their social development, their physical development, writing annual goals, measurable annual goals aligned with Common Core. So we spent all day looking at the rubric, looking at IEPs. We wrote, seeing what was missing, seeing what can be improved. So when I came back to my school, with a staff of about 15 special ed teachers, I just informally asked who would be interested in attending a training on this, and I really didn't need to convince them a lot. I had 13 teachers sign up for 2 hours after school to be trained on this rubric, plus the speech provider. And everyone brought their own IEPs and they rated them, and we saw that we had a lot missing and a lot of work to do. And so it was very easy to have buy-in for this project because we all looked at our own work. It wasn't just some made-up student. We brought in our own IEPs and were really honest with each other about what was missing and what could be better.
My colleagues and I in the English department at Harlem Renaissance have always been interested in creating curriculum along a scope and sequence that will be accessible to students at a transfer school. Students who are at various different levels, and many of whom have spent time out of school for so long that re-engaging them in the work was sometimes difficult. And I expressed that interest to Irene Lau, who at that time was my network coach. And as soon as the curriculum writing project opened up, she emailed me. I responded, and I would say the work that we did with teachers across transfer schools was rigorous, but it did yield curriculum that was rigorous for our students, rigorous but accessible, and including scaffolding and modifications so that all students could have access to college-ready work. Getting the project underway back at the school was no problem because, within our department of 3, not 15, it was the collaborative process has been there for years. We had already been working on co-writing curriculum and rubrics and assessments, and this was just a natural next step. And in fact, when we received the final product of the curriculum writing project, my colleagues just looked at the work and we figured out which components we could implement as soon as possible in the fall. We did try it out in the fall, and I think to some success.
Thank you. So getting buy-in and getting something going can sometimes be a huge challenge, but it sounds like at the point that you all started, you had some needs, so people were excited to try something new. My next question is about consistency. So once the project was up and running, how exactly did you keep the collaboration consistent, and how did you kind of record data or reflect in some sort of a written process to move forward that way?
So we conducted our intervisitations for the English department actually within our English department meetings. Teachers would film themselves, so we kind of stole a little bit from our video club in that aspect, where teachers would film themselves, bring the lesson, the 15-minute clip to the department meeting, and then we would view it. We have intervisitations scheduled about twice every marking period, so that works out to about once every month and a half. And that is set within the calendar within our Wednesday department meetings that happen weekly. As far as the consistency for the feedback goes, we took the form that the network had created about taking notes and creating high leverage warm feedback and high leverage cool feedback. And we took that form to fill in our low inference notes, and then the department actually, again, took from the video club, why we create the wheel, the form that we would then present to the teacher. So the form we presented to the teacher had their 1 warm and 2 cool, and then suggested strategies on it that they would then try out in their classroom. They would then come back a few weeks later and talk to us about how that strategy went and if there were any other next steps or support they needed. So it's just a consistent cycle for us in our department and just keeping it in the schedule for teachers to collaborate.
In our school, the intervisitations going to other schools, I feel like really helped. Those who were exposed to that experience, and this year I have two of my colleagues who are participating this year in the intervisitations. Shout out to Spirits. And because of the fact that I feel like it is indicative of how successful our experiences have been. The fact that they wanted to see what we were experiencing and really see good practice outside of our building. The video club was the hub of where that kind of energy, I feel, germinated. The teachers found themselves going from being trepidatious and careful to being very honest and open with one another about their practice. There was no way to hide. You know, you're looking at each other every single week. Trust happens organically. It's not forced. It's not because you have to fill out a piece of paper. And so our feedback form actually changed over time. Our feedback form started out with what the network provided, and we tweaked it for our school, for our needs. It changed the climate in our department in terms of just feeling more comfortable seeing each other, even if you didn't immediately receive feedback in that moment. You would have a conversation with a colleague in the English department. You would talk about a strategy that you tried. And that became infectious. Now, for example, at the beginning of this year, every grade level in our English department actually started with the same concept. We worked up with growth mindset from 9th to 12th grade. And we have all done some version of Socratic seminar. So for that to happen happened because teachers learned from teachers, trusted teachers, and really felt comfortable evaluating one another's practice. When you can create a safe space, I feel like teachers know that our greatest resource is one another. And so the format simply allowed for that collaboration and effective practice to grow.
I can definitely add on to that because feeling comfortable with each other led this collaboration to continue. No offense to any school leaders, but what made this work is that administration stayed out of it. And IEPs were given to a peer to review. There was nothing disciplinary about this. It was, if you want to improve your work, your peer is going to let you know what you're missing and how to improve it. And we felt comfortable with doing that, with giving someone your IEP that you kind of take ownership of because you feel like you've worked so long on this document. Letting someone else kind of rifle through it and tell you what's missing is scary. But during the training at school, everyone received all the materials right there and we practiced them together. So everyone felt comfortable using them to evaluate others' work. And it really was the comfort that led this to continue.
For the history department in my school, our process has changed when we first started intervisitations. When we first started it, the whole entire department would go see one teacher. And then at the following department meeting, which is usually the following Wednesday, we would give feedback to that teacher, and they would take that feedback and bring it back into their classroom. But what we eventually learned is that the adjunct teacher was getting so much feedback at one time, we decided that we need to switch this process up. So the first thing we did is we split the department into team A and team B, and two teachers go grade level, and we do it every month, starting from 9th grade to 10th grade, and then it rotates back. The teachers that are being observed actually come in and actually say, okay, this is what I want you to go for when you come in. So we have them say, what do you need to help with, or what do you think you need help with? So they come in, they pose the question, they ask us they tell us what they want us to look for in their classroom. Then the same process is the same. We'll go back into the department, we'll split up into team A and B. We'll give the teacher the feedback. They take the feedback back into their classroom and then report back to
discuss a list of text-based questions, and we would just observe their conversations with a slow start at first, a quiet start at first, and then we recognize them gaining confidence in their ability to question the text and question one another. And then we would come back to our department meetings that same Wednesday afternoon and just share the student written work that came as a product. And that way it allowed us to not have so much time lapse in between, so we could continuously tweak the process, make it better for the students, recognize if our questions needed to be posed in a different way, and ways that we could help the students gain more independence in that area.
I just want to thank you guys. A couple of things that I heard there that I feel like need to be highlighted again because these are just ideal, and I believe everyone that said this, especially Darnice. You said there was no way to hide. Trust happens organically. Climate changes occur when trust happens, and this process becomes infectious. So that's really what this is all about. So I just wanted to put that out there one more time. Thank you. The next question is a little bit more specific. So what impact do you guys think this structure had on students directly and indirectly? And specifically thinking about student engagement, motivation, work products, access to more rigorous instruction. So let's hear what your thoughts are on that.
Particularly for our students, who many of whom are returning to school after a long-term absence, we were trying to engage the students more around reading, around wanting to read outside of the classroom as well as inside. And one direct impact that we see is student enthusiasm around reading, students asking for us to get them more text, specific tests, asking for us to order books for them. And then also the student level, again, of confidence in terms of leading their own discussions, academic discourse, rather than just, the kind of conversations they have outside of class. And one indirect impact is that we've been working since last year on moving students towards text-based argument. And one thing that we found is that the students are able to formulate a claim, able to find evidence, but the area of struggle was always to recognize a counterclaim, to recognize that someone might think differently than you. And those student-led discussions allow students to see multiple perspectives on a text, on an issue, and so that then impacted their ability to write better argument.
One of the issues at the first meeting about IEPs is that we were definitely missing student voice, general education teacher voice in IEPs. And this process kind of forced us to gain that. So we created surveys, interview, report forms to get that information. And now that we were getting it, we were seeing teachers actually using IEPs as lesson planning tools. Since general education teachers were kind of forced to put more information into an IEP, they had, again, more buy-in to an IEP. On one of the report forms, which you can see during the gallery walk, gen ed teachers are asked to come up with some interventions that they think would help the student after they have identified strengths and weaknesses that they see in their classroom. Now, they can think about what a lesson plan could look like based on those accommodations. And you'll see that in one of the lesson plans we brought today, specific student names are listed and what that lesson, how that needs to be changed for them that day. So it definitely changed lesson plans, which improves student engagement. Differentiation just grew because it had to. You knew more about your student and you can't ignore those facts now. You have to use them in your classroom.
So one of our instructional focuses this year is 3B, questioning and discussion. And last year, one of our English teachers had this reputation for running great discussions. And we would all in the English department hear about it, and, oh, we should go see her, great discussions. It's one thing to hear that someone's doing a great discussion. It's another to actually watch it and see it. So when our department watched this teacher in the intervisitation process through the discussion, we were floored, and she teaches 9th grade, so it's it had nothing to do with the age of the students. They were 9th graders, and they were running this discussion rich with evidence. The pacing was impressive. All voices were heard. So we actually ended up incorporating her protocols into our own classrooms. And so now our English department has a protocol for discussions that really works throughout the classrooms, and we've leveled it so that it increases in rigor from year to year. And that's something that I don't think, to be honest, teachers would have bought into without seeing it. Because it really drove the point home that, like, this is working in this room, let's turnkey it everywhere else. And it has definitely impacted students positively in that way. We've also, in an indirect way, the culture of the school has completely changed because of intervisitations. Teachers come to me, teachers go to other teachers from different content areas saying, hey, I'm trying this out today, like, can you come check it out? I want to see what you think. And sometimes I just show up to classes and I'm like, hey, I'm here to watch you, and it's totally okay. 2 years ago, if I would have done that and walked into someone else's room, they would have been like, whoa, what are you, this is my classroom, what are you doing here? So it's definitely like, teachers are learning just as students are learning, but that culture shift definitely indirectly impacts the students in a positive way.
Yeah, I'm just going to piggyback. That, to me, when you think about teacher practice, when teachers gain more confidence, when teachers feel more edified, when teachers feel efficacious, then the direct impact is on student learning. And in our school, the openness, for me, that is the most important thing, that there is an openness. I think every teacher, even with that openness, is on a different place on the spectrum, but there's now an openness. And so now there is conversation. In our school, we're having conversation about protocols because protocols felt very top-down. And now we're trying, it's a practice, so you should be able to try different things in your classroom, to explore different strategies and see how effective they are. Well, this created a safe enough space. It still can be safer, where teachers can really explore various practices for each class, for each population, for each grade level, and see how effective it is. And I feel like in our English department, we're now having those conversations, and they are authentic. They're not just because this is, because we have to do this because of Danielson, or we have to do this because of Common Core. That language doesn't leave, but it's not at the heart of what we talk about anymore. There's a real genuine conversation about what works in your class, what works in my class, how can we bridge those gaps, and the impact on students. Ultimately, there are classes now that we can offer in our school that are not AP, and I use air quotes on purpose. There are students that are there that would not qualify in other schools to be AP students, but they want to be in a more rigorous classroom. They want to engage in more rigorous discussion. They want to know, what is it that's out there that I'm not typically getting? And to me, that's huge. We have to make the adjustments as a school because it's not easy to have a mixed classroom like that and have such a high standard, and they haven't been really prepared for that. But we're gauging it slowly and collectively. We are doing it together. When I have a bad day, when I feel like I missed it, I can come to my colleagues and say, can you come check it out? Because I don't know what I did that I missed this time. That kind of conversation wasn't happening. Not as openly. You had it with your friends and the people you were close with, but now across the school, there's a clear openness, and I feel like the students can feel that, and they see the language consistent across content areas. It's not just in English, it's happening in every single department.
I think the history teachers in the room will be able to relate to this. If you ask a historical question with that history, or even a current events question, you often get the emotional answer with no evidence. So discussion was based a lot in I think this, but okay, why do you think this? So, and we were seeing that across a lot of our social studies classrooms in our school. So we decided, okay, we need to take a step back. We need to increase the use of evidence when they give why they think something. So we did something as simple as just stopping and having them write. Okay? Before you answer anything, you need to write something. You need to write. Okay? And then use discussion. I agree with, I disagree with, this is why I think. To the point that we've developed protocols that if we're in debate or discussion and you do not use textual evidence, you do not get the point. I feel your team uses the point. So, and that is done across our whole department, and it came out of the intervisitations.
Amazing, thank you again. So the part I wanted to highlight here also that all of you sort of hit on is the culture of the school that you're in have changed because of collaboration. That's pretty amazing, and it feels authentic. The last question, just to get some final thoughts here, is do you feel that the process you led is feasible for instructional leads to structure on their own? Or would they need a certain amount of administrative support? I know that some of you have said it was better that administration set that, but is there another side to that? Where did you need administration? Where don't you need administration? How do you see that aspect of the process for people?
For this training, honestly, the only thing needed from administration is time to learn it, so you can then turnkey it. Once you have been trained on this information, it is very easy to monitor your teachers if they're doing it. It's very easy for instructional leads, if you're familiar with IEP writing, to lead this on your own.
I would have to agree about time, in the sense, time to create meaningful protocol for the students, and then actually time to really reflect on the work. A large chunk of time to just be able to pass work around, look at the student work, and look at where we can improve our practice in order to better impact the students. So I would say that administrators, any lead instructor would be able to implement this, but they would need the time designated by administration to devote to teachers collaborating.
I would say that you need to know that the people involved in the process need to know that the administrator supports the process, and that you have the trust of your administrator. They trust in you to know that what you're leading is going to be effective and beneficial for the school. Other than that, I think that, and again, no offense to the administrators in the room, mine here, that the more that you stay out of it, the more authentic the teacher response is.
And just to add on to that, of course, again, time, right? So giving teachers time to actually meet and do this is key. I think also, though, the patience to have it work, because it's not going to work right away. It's going to take some time. I think it took our department about 6 months to start being honest with each other. So there were a lot of, that was great, really effective, highly effective, awesome. And then, there had to be a comfortableness with each other and a comfortableness with giving feedback that had to develop. And when we really started to become honest with each other, it was awesome. But just don't give up right away and be like, well, this isn't working, everyone's just being too nice. I know Frank and I went back to the network and said that when we first started it, everyone's being so nice, like it's not really effective yet. And they sort of gave us that advice, like just wait it out, it's gonna change. And it did. And it became more authentic and valuable. So definitely time and patience.
The last word she said, I think, is really critical for administrators. If you don't value it, and not value it because you're the administrator, but truly value that teachers really are a resource to teachers, and that the space that you give them to learn from each other, to collaborate, a lot of really good stuff can happen in that space, which speaks to trust. You can give them all the time in the world, you can give teachers all the time. They know the difference between you giving time to stuff that you value and that you find treasures in and things you give time to because you feel like you have to. So that's what I would say is it's important for administrators to express and make sure it's clear to teachers who are leading this and are in the process that it is valuable to you, that they really grow through this process without their input, without their hands on it, that they trust you as a teacher and as a group of teachers to be able to go through the journey and really learn from one another.
So just some cool feedback for any administrators in the room. Time, trust, removal equals authenticity, patience, don't give up, and truly value what it is that you're selling. Cool. If there's, we have about a minute and 30 seconds left, but if there is somebody who has a pressing question that they want to throw out to the panel, something that popped into someone's head they really want to hear the answer to, we'd be happy to take it. Okay, so with that, I'm going to ask Lauren, I think, to come back up, and she's going to introduce Bill Weinberg, our next presenter.
Please give them another round of applause. Thank you for everything, panelists. And now, thank you, our Deputy Chancellor for Teaching and Learning, Bill Weinberg.
Thanks. It's a real privilege to get to listen to the panel this afternoon. The work that we were so fortunate to see today embodies my two favorite parts of our capacity framework. The critical elements of the capacity framework, I think, which are the collaborative work of teachers and a variety of approaches to professional learning, can really transform the way we work in our schools. And I think we have a shared understanding that trust in one another has the power to help us build very strong school communities. We know, anyone who works in schools knows, that by sharing our challenges and our successes, by collectively looking at the impact of our work, we can create real and lasting change in schools around the city. I believe that the work that we got to hear about today, that the work that you talked about doing together, will help students become independent thinkers, and there's absolutely no higher calling than that. So let me start out really by thanking Lauren and Nate for leading this incredible effort over the last 2 years, and let me thank Beth Leaf, who's the director of the Carolyn Milton Petrie Foundation, for having the foresight to support the conditions that would allow for this kind of authentic learning to happen in our schools. And also we should recognize the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for their continued support of our work, particularly around teacher collaboration and teacher leadership. We have superintendents and network staff and principals and assistant principals in this room without whom this work would not flourish. And most of all, I want to thank teachers. Teachers who are here and teachers throughout the city for the impressive work that they do every single day inside of our classrooms, working with our students and with each other to create a future for young people that is successful and that allows them to have choices, that allows them to become independent thinkers and choose lives for themselves. That work is what brings us here tonight. What I've always found vexing in my 30+ years as an educator is this idea that we are individuals, that we have this narrow emphasis on our own individuality, that we're supposed to go into our classrooms by ourselves, do our job, and walk out figuring out whether we did a decent job ourselves, come back the next day and try to do a little bit better. Close our doors, do our job, don't cause a problem, come back tomorrow. That's not the best way to work. What I heard today is that when we create a collaborative examination of work products, we get better at what we do. When we review practices outside the building, we can expand our knowledge of what we might do. When we have an intentional focus on areas that we want to improve upon, we're going to get to be better teachers. When school-created protocols for discussion happen, we open up a larger discussion about what teaching and learning looks like in our building. And that all of these things conspire to change the culture of our work and create opportunities, create an openness, which enables further exploration. Before I had the amazing opportunity to come work here, I was really fortunate to be principal of the High School of Telecommunications in Brooklyn for about 13 years. One of the things I learned there was that one of the powers I had as a leader was to not talk, was to listen. Listen first. So the first thing we did in 2000 was to create grade level teams of teachers to work with our students, not because it was my idea, but because the staff said that they were not working well enough with each other in order to tap each other's expertise. So those teams that we created enabled us to change our practices much more quickly, to support our students much more thoroughly, and to learn from each other in ways that we had never done before. And as a principal, one of the great parts about that was I got all the credit. You guys here are choosing to open your doors to your colleagues, to the DOE staff, to other teachers, and to share your best thinking and practices, to engage in an authentic process of learning and listening. This is how we become better leaders in our classrooms and in our school communities. Through opportunities like this event tonight, we're creating a very intentional feedback loop between educators and policy leaders. This event is extraordinary. It's a clear and quite literal example of how we want and need the voices of educators to be heard in this building throughout Tweed. So, as you continue to share practices and learn from and interrogate each other, you will be creating the conditions for real innovation and real and lasting improvement in our schools. It's the best and the most important work that we do. So therefore, as you move forward, I hope you continue to allow one thought to frame your thinking. Working together, how will we help our students become independent thinkers? Thank you so much tonight for sharing the work that you've done, and thank you so much for listening to each other, and it's an honor to be part of this event. Thanks a lot.